Remember Me is a show about the sudden rise to fame.
Each week, we talk to the people who burst onto our screens.
We talk about the highs, the lows, and what happens when the attention fades.
From tabloid chaos
to early internet madness.
I'm Maisie Adam.
I'm Scott Bryan.
And this is Remember Me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you never miss an update or an episode.
The thing about it is that we were really subtle.
Really subtle.
And
really subtle.
subtlety really works between us.
We don't care if you enjoy it or like it, but
I mean, that would
do like and subscribe.
Do. We do care.
No, we don't. We're really nonchalant. We're really nonchalant, but do like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And leave a good review if you want.
If you want.
It's no
big deal.
It's fine
you don't
either
have
way.
to do it. You
don't
have
to.
to.
Hello, joining us in the studio today, I'm very excited to say, is the star of one of the most iconic TV shows of our generation, Scott. It's trigger-happy TV legend and creator, Dom Joly.
Now, Trigger Happy was a kind of like hidden camera comedy series,
yes,
but quite different to like Beatles About and all of those, because normally those are in a set location. Everyone then jumps out and says, you know, we've done this stunt. It's quite overly produced.
Yes. This was as authentic as it got, I think.
Yeah, so the total opposite. I mean, of course, there's the sketch in which there'll be the guy with the big phone in an art gallery. I think we'll obviously mention that. I think it was also just, it's a weird show. It was like a weird show, massive for Channel 4. Was quite like not like a flash in the pan, because it was massive in terms of the ratings, but it was only there for a little short while.
I didn't realise until we were prepping for this interview that it was just 2 series.
Just 2 series,
because it was so huge and kind of, you're right, a bit surreal and a bit. I mean, it was to contextualise it. People will remember it alongside shows like The Mighty Boosh, which were really seeing this boom in kind of the weird and wacky being sort of celebrated, and a bit sort of nobody knowing where it's going, leaning into that. And then mix that with the hidden camera era alongside Over the Pond, as Dom goes on to mention, but Jackass absolutely exploding. It's a show that Dom produced and directed with cameraman Sam Cadman, who was his friend. And it really felt like you were watching a show that 2 mates were making with a camera they'd found and gone out that day. And just, we were watching the results unfold.
Well, as we learn, that was basically how they made the show over the course of a year. Given £1 million.
I know.
And said, come back in 12 months. And, you know, I don't know about you, Maisie, but if somebody said that to me, I'd be on my holidays for like 10 months and then go into a panic attack. That would basically be my... When Dom
talks about it, I really wanted to turn to you and go, Scott, put your telly hat on and go, what is the likelihood of that happening nowadays in the TV landscape?
Let me just say, not that much.
Yeah, I'll just give you £1 million. Were you a trigger-happy fan, Scott?
I was of that age of just about to turn into a teen.
Yeah.
And I think this was a show that was rebellious.
It was naughty.
Risque, naughty.
Yeah.
But also had quite a lot of mainstream appeal.
It's a fascinating episode. So fascinating. It's a 2-parter. So without further ado, do get stuck into it. It's time to bring out this week's guest on Remember Me. Please welcome Dom Joly. We are joined today by Dom Joly.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Just before the Alzheimer's kicks in,
I
can't remember
me. No.
Yeah.
Dom, thank you so much for coming in. We were discussing just before the pod that we recently gigged together at the Royal Albert Hall.
You've made me relevant, Maisie.
No,
you
I'm
really
not
have.
This.
You
No.
genuinely have, because we did the Albert Hall together.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's maybe a good starting point, because we have to talk on Remember Me about trigger-happy TV, okay? Yeah. It's over 25 years ago, which feels mad kind of to say that that's when it first hit our TV screens.
How mad do you think it is for me? My daughter was born in the month Trigger Happy went out, which is 14th of Jan 2000. So she's like, I literally just had lunch with her. She's the physical, she's like, she's the physical embodiment
of how long
of Trigger Happy. She's looking fine at the moment. It's great, but it's insane. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it feel that long ago to you?
Yeah, it does. It feels like it's weird because I've just done this, I'm doing this 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
So I did 4 shows at the end of last year. And so that's the first time I really thought about it properly and had a look at it all, because the guy I made it with, Sam, is very on the spectrum, thank God. So he kept all the rushes.
Yes.
So we went through all the rushes. So I found like the very first thing we ever filmed for Trigger Happy. And I realised that and there was never a plan for Trigger Happy. It was just like what felt funny. But the very first thing we ever filmed, kind of, if I had to sum up Trigger Happy, was that. It was me dressed as a womble on Wimbledon Common, having a nervous breakdown, littering and swearing at children, with Baby Bird as music on top. And that's Trigger Happy, really. So, like, maybe we did know what we were doing. But no, it does feel like a lifetime ago, because I've done a lot of things, like, and weird, different things. So, like, my life in the last 25 years has been in parts. So it's quite weird now coming back to it.
Do you think of your life as like in eras?
Yeah. Well,
like
it sounds a bit grand. That is a little bit. I'm quite Swifty in that way.
Yeah, you're Trigger Happy.
But no,
era.
I definitely had eras. Yeah. I had nervous breakdown eras. I had travel book eras. I had unhappy eras. I've had amazing eras. So yeah, definitely. I've had sort of three-year waves.
Yes.
Up and down, probably. Yeah.
Sorry, but I noticed you said that there was no plan when you did Trigger Happy. There was never a plan.
There's never been a plan. If you look at my CV, it's insane. Like, I started off I was a diplomat in Prague. I worked as a political producer in Westminster. Then I did Trigger Happy. Then I'm a travel writer for the Sunday Times and write travel books.
How does a diplomat end up doing Trigger Happy?
Because I've no plan.
It feels weird to me as a person who's a geek about TV to have kind of not really any idea what you're making until you make it.
Well, there's two things to that. So firstly, there's a sliding doors element to Trigger Happy, which is insane. So I kind of, if I had anything I wanted to do, I wanted to be a sort of satirist. And when I got booted out of ITN, I ended up working, my first job in telly was for the Mark Thomas Comedy Product as a researcher. And Mark Thomas Comedy Product was the kind of Michael Moore type show. It was like taking the piss out of politicians and stuff. And I was brought on because I had a political background. And they didn't have much money. And so when they were doing the VTs, I just kept saying, well, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, I'd do this for free. Like, I wouldn't be paid for it. So I did that for a bit. And then I moved to the Paramount Comedy Channel, which was a really weird place at the time. It was a satellite channel that was playing essentially big American shows.
Yeah.
But working there at the time, you had the Mighty Boosh. You had Sacha Baron Cohen. You had Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright. You had Lee Francis in the art room.
So this sort of quirky sketch scene was...
Yeah, so it was almost like a
random channel.
Yeah.
But it was like a training place, but for visual stuff, rather than like weekending or Edinburgh or stand-ups.
Yeah.
These were people doing TV
visual
stuff.
Gags. Yeah.
And I think I came up with the idea that they had these things called interstitials, which is such a stupid TV word, but it basically means the bit between shows.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was like 3-4 minutes. And we started doing this thing called World of Paramount, because everyone was filming this weird stuff. And so we'd make these little mini shows of about 2-3 minutes, and they'd go out between the shows.
Yeah.
And they became a little bit cult. Like Noel Gallagher once said him and Liam used to watch it. I was just like, what? That's insane.
Whoa.
And then Channel 4 saw that, and they saw me doing stuff. And at the time, I was taking the piss out of Cool Britannia and Tony Blair and putting like Millennium Domes in Mandelson's garden. We were on to Mandelson really early. And doing stuff like that.
Started then.
And there was a thing called Comedy Lab, which Channel 4 set up, which basically was for people that hadn't had a proper TV show. You'd get like a pilot. And we applied for that. And I think the best thing that ever happened to me, Caroline Leddy was the commissioning editor. And I went in and she said, look, I love all this stuff you're doing, but she just finished Brass Eye, which is my favourite show of all time. Yeah. And she just said, I've just been in court all the time, all this legal stuff, and you want to do more like satirical stuff. Is there any way you could just drop that and just do what you do, but just not about anything, just make it funny?
Yeah.
And that, I think, was so good, because I'd be so keen to say, look, I'm so smart, I'm satirical. And it was just a freedom. Trigger Happy was literally just what if something makes you laugh, go and do it, basically.
Yeah. So you were happy with that ask rather than...
I didn't know, because I was just like, I was happy, like Channel 4 wanted to make a show, I was going to do it. And the other great moment for me was just when Paramount started and I was trying to film stuff. I didn't want like an old cameraman with a sound guy who's going to have to follow me around when I don't know what we're doing. It was like guerrilla TV. And I got this opportunity, and I went to a pub called The Engineer in Primrose Hill with my girlfriend, and I was just like, this is insane. They want me to go and make this stuff, but I can't make it in a traditional way. And I kind of knew that, because like I've worked with old school cameramen who were just not used to like running around YouTube-y type stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a guy behind the bar like cleaning the glasses, and he just leans over and he goes, I can do that. And I said, what?
No
and he said, I was listening to what you're saying. And so I said, well, if you can, come to Paramount on Monday morning. And that was Sam, who I made Trigger Happy with, and now he went off to be an ad director in LA, and now we're back together making new stuff.
Met at the pub.
And he had not ever filmed anything before. But he's so on the spectrum. He went and just learnt the manual for a camera, and just by chance we had this weird click. He's so different from me. I'm kind of lazy and spontaneous. He is like he gets everything done. So he does the organising, I don't. And we just have a similar sense of humour.
And you balance each other out.
Yeah, but if I hadn't walked into that pub,
like,
I would think about this all the time. I wouldn't have made Trigger Happy. I wouldn't have made anything.
Because that style is so sort of signature of Trigger Happy. I mean, I know you mentioned all of the other kind of visual sketch sort of things adjacent that were around that time, but there was nothing like Trigger Happy.
No, so there were two. I mean, we never again thought about style, but there were two things we wanted to do. Like, I loved hidden camera from when I was a kid. Like early candid camera, I loved. 70s candid camera got a bit naff and was all about golf, and it was a bit rubbish. And then growing up, it was like Beatles about and Game for a Laugh, which to me was cheesy mainstream shit. I hated it.
Watch out, Beatles about. Watch out, Beatles about. You better watch out, 'cause Beatles about.
Tonight, a man wrestles with a weighty decision. Sarah picks some sweet peas. The public play along with our problem piano. Feathers fly when cowboy meets Indian. Pringle the Penguin presents his predictions.
Why didn't you like it?
I hated that it was kind of, oh, look, a bloke's got a car. He loves a car. Let's blow up his car and make him angry. It was lazy. But also I didn't like the kind of big studio format of like, oh, we've done that. Now, look, there are all the cameras. And then I just wanted it to... basically, I knew that I loved hidden camera, but I wanted it to be beautiful. I wanted it to be an art form. I really was that poncy. I wanted to make something beautiful. And I knew that in comedy, hidden camera pranking was seen as the lowest rung. If you're smart, you become a stand-up, a screenwriter. And I was like, fuck that. So I did have a slight idea I wanted to make something different, but I didn't know how.
And then when you were... So you got the pilot by Channel 4.
Yeah. Again, I made quite a smart call. They gave us a 30-minute pilot. Yeah. And I said, no, I want to do 15 minutes. So I gave half my pilot to someone else. And I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember who it was. But that was suicidal. Like, why would you give away that?
Yeah.
But I knew at that time that we could make a really tight 15 minutes. And I thought if we make 30 minutes and it's just a bit flabby, we might not get it. So honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. But we were making quite smart decisions in that. I think because we actually didn't really care. Like, really? Genuinely. We were a bit punky in that way.
And that went in your favour.
I think it really helps. When you sort of don't care and you can't believe you're already at that stage, I think it gives you freedom, actually, to do stuff, yeah.
I find that when I have a camera on in my face, it allows me to sort of go into a role, if that makes sense. So maybe gives me confidence I wouldn't have if I didn't have one. When you were doing stunts, did you have that the same? Because you knew it was being filmed, because you knew it was being there, you were able to go into unfamiliar scenarios.
You mean when people say, how can you do this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the best question I ever get asked. And people are like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, let's take as an example the snail, which is probably my favourite moment. It's like, I couldn't do that. Like, how can you... I'm in a tight body stocking. I've got a massive snail thing and I've got thing on it and I'm crawling across the road. And people are just like, how can you do that? And I'm like, it's very different. If I decided to wake up one morning and I just put a snail costume on and started crawling around London, that would mean I've suffered some sort of terrible nervous breakdown and I should be sectioned. Yeah. But if I'm doing it because I know that I'm doing it because someone's filming and I know it's going to be for a good thing, I'll do that every day. So it's kind of easy, actually. All the costumes we wore never had an open face. So I don't know if that was when I've got a costume on, like the dogs or whatever, that's not me anymore. So that's easy.
Yeah.
And even when I'm doing the snail or when I'm being someone in Trigger Happy, it's sort of not me. It's like another... My kid used to say when she was small and Trigger Happy was massive, went to school and she came back, she's about 5, and she said, Dad, are you Dom Joly? and I said, what? She goes, are you Dom Joly? Because my friends are saying that your dad's Dom Joly. And Dom Joly was this thing that she knew that I went on the train to London and I did Dom Joly.
Yeah.
And I came back, I was Dad. So Dom Joly was a different thing.
I mean, what was the overnight success of Trigger Happy was bonkers. Yeah. I think so. The first episode, you've done the pilot. The first episode goes out on January 14th, 2000.
Yeah.
What are your memories of the reaction?
So I know exactly. It was so crazy. So the week before, I'd suggested an ad campaign, which I'd nicked from somewhere, some book I'd read, where I wanted them to fly post. and Channel 4 wouldn't fly post.
What's fly posting?
Fly posting posters everywhere.
As in all around London that says...
And they said, we can't do that, it's illegal. And then Sam found someone who would do it sort of under the radar. So basically they did it, and I wanted these things to go up everywhere with my face, just saying this man is a liar, do not trust this man and stuff. And so I said it as a sort of joke, and they loved it. And so 2 days before Trigger Happy went out, those were everywhere. And I woke up in my flat and I looked out the window and they didn't know, but it was right opposite my flat. And I was like, fuck, like it was there. And so that was weird. And then the show went out on a Friday night. It was repeated on the Saturday. And the Monday was the moment I realized my life had changed. I was on a train and I was going to Oxford and I was in a carriage. No one knew I was there. And because the ringtone I'd chosen for the mobile was a ringtone I hated. It was called Grand Valse. But Nokia had, between us making it and the show going out, had turned it into the Nokia tune. Nothing to do with us. So it meant if you didn't change your ringtone, it went off. And that ringtone went off and 3 people on the carriage stood up and went, hello, I'm on a train. And I was like, fuck, what has happened?
Hello? No, I'm in an art gallery. Hello? Yeah, I'm jogging. Yeah, I'm in the library, yeah. No, I'm in an internet cafe. What? No, I'm on a train.
And it just went mental from there, really. And I had a kind of 4-year, just totally like going bigger and bigger and hating it and then moving to the BBC and then totally imploding and then being sort of fired out of show business at the other end because I didn't enjoy that level of fame. I think I'm much more comfortable as a sort of punky outsider, pathetic shark, rather than...
If you've, as you've said, you like watching and observing, and you like being on the fringe of things.
And when you're
have something...
Well, then everyone's observing you.
Rocket to that level of success.
I'll tell you a great moment I realised when things had changed, even when I went from Channel 4 to BBC, because Channel 4 we were still a bit punky, and then we went to the BBC when I say we, it's not the royal we, it's me and Sam. We went to the BBC for like a 3-series deal, and you turn up the BBC, you're just like... You feel grown up, it's like BBC. And you walk in and you get given a suite of offices, not just an office. Ricky Gervais is next door making the office. Like the whole thing's mental. And some guy comes in on the first day and he says, you've just got these new offices. I said, yeah. He goes, well, we redecorate them normally if someone comes in. What colour do you want it? Have you thought about colour?
What do you want?
So I'm like, I don't know. So I just said red, which is, again, not a great one because it's sort of insanity. And the next day in the Sun or the Mirror, there was a page saying Trigger Happy star Tantrum refuses to start work at the BBC till his offices are painted red. And I suddenly thought, oh, we've jumped now from being, I've jumped from being sort of punky outsider to now like tantrumy, whatever I am. It was awful.
But it really was like a full-on blow-up, wasn't it? I think
I didn't realise it at the time.
Did you not?
No, I was so... It happened so fast. One of the reasons I enjoyed doing this 25th reunion is it sort of given me a moment to sort of think about it, because you don't realise it. I was equating it to when you're in a band. I always thought if you're in a band, you sort of gig around for ages, and I suppose the bit you want is that moment when you sign the record deal.
Yeah.
If you're the Sex Pistols, you do it outside Buckingham Palace, and that's a moment where you think we've done it.
Yeah.
So I suppose the closest was like Channel 4 are going to put a show out. I remember taking a picture of my name in the credits. Like I was so excited by that, but that was how new it was.
But I guess as well, if you're in a band, a little bit of it is every night you're playing bigger rooms and bigger rooms. So you have an indication of how you're going.
That's exactly it.
Whereas telly...
This was like writing a song in your bedroom and playing the Albert Hall the next day with no training.
It got a review calling it the greatest TV show of the millennium.
This is Victor Lewis Smith.
14 days in.
That's Victor Lewis Smith. No, he actually said, I think the greatest review of the greatest comedy show of the millennium so far.
So far.
But I always took the so far off.
Of course.
But he also, I don't remember my own critics, trust me, but I was so blown away by that because I love Victor Lewis Smith. He said, and this is what I love, turn the humble practical joke into an art form. And that was, I'll take that because that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
I can imagine just the meetings of deciding what you were going to do in each episode was
I love you think we had that.
Well, no, but just the concept of thinking, okay, we'll do this. I will go to a toilet by the front of a store.
Yeah.
And then act as if there is a real toilet. I will leave a public conveniences in the middle of a public square and then play out a whole scene.
There's a lot of public conveniences going on.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah,
we were actually quite toilet obsessed, I realised looking back. We had one where I was quite obsessed. So our offices were in Charing Cross Road, and we were surrounded by those sort of, you know, those electric loos you go in where the door opens and
yes.
it's kind of like
yeah.
And I'd done a bit of research, and I know that when you come out of it, the whole thing just goes up like that, and there's a sort of like a car wash. And so in my mind, there was a sort of urban myth that someone got stuck in there, or a homeless person tried to spend the night, and suddenly it's like being whirled around. So we did one where you just hear screaming and there's banging like that, and people are looking around, and I've got a massive bucket of blue shit, and I just pour it over me, and then the door opens and I just come out, and you can see on everyone's face where trigger happy jokes work is when people, there's a modicum of truth. Like they so we did the Guardian Angels. Do you remember the Guardian Angels? Those people from New York that would dress up in berets and stand on the tube. Everyone had heard about them, but they'd never seen them. So I would just stand on the tube and just go, I'm Iran from the Guardian Angels, just to let you know you're all safe. Is everyone okay with that?
Okay, Herrschaften, bitte nehmen Sie zur Kenntnis, dass diese Bushaltestelle ab sofort von den Guardian Angels gesichert wird.
And everyone British is just like, fucking hell. Like,
I remember there was also one when you were on a bench and you're like acting as if you're in a spy drama, trying to give someone confidential information.
Well, that's one of my big ones, was spy. And that, a lot of our stuff was, I nicked from cartoons. I nicked stuff from Viz, and I nicked a lot. That was from Spy v Spy, which is a very old school from Mad magazine. It was just like a spy in black and a spy in white, and they'd always be against each other. So I dressed up in what I now realise looked like Inspector Gadget, really. and yeah, I would just approach people. My favourite one, I just did a walk around Hyde Park last week, and I remember we went to the boating pond in Hyde Park, because it always feels like a place where spies meet.
Yeah.
And they're just pretending to feed the ducks.
Yeah.
And just going, and so I'm standing there with a briefcase next to this couple, and I'm just throwing bananas.
The weather in Volgograd is good this time of year, I'm told. You have the film?
Pardon?
You have the film?
No, I don't have a film.
You are not Grey Squirrel?
I'm not what?
Grey Squirrel?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And normally everyone kind of just freaked out. The best one, though, we try and change where we filmed a lot, and we found this great little garden off the back of the embankment, and we hadn't done it. And so I said, right, we'll do it there. There's a bench with its back to the railings. And so normally we'd have the car, the Previa, which had tinted windows, and the car would drive in. Sam would be hiding in a bush. Someone would be filming from the Previa. And then we'd all be like mic'd up, and I could hear people. And I'd walk in and say, right, there's a guy sitting there having his lunch. And I sat down and we started filming. And I pushed a briefcase across and I go, you have the dossier? And the guy just got up and fucking shot off, like I'd shot him or whatever.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that's a bit weird. So I said, all right, we'll do that again. So I got up, wandered around. I'm about to get another bench, and suddenly out the back, wham, 2 policemen just hit me to the ground, handcuffed me. And I suddenly realised we were in the garden behind the Ministry of Defence. Yeah? So everyone in there was from the Ministry of Defence, who'd all been trained like not to be approached and stuff.
Oh my god!
So we had loads of weird stuff like that.
To be fair, do you remember when the Salisbury attack and that they were spies on a bench? Immediately, I remember watching that on the news and was like, "It's like something from Trigger Happy TV."
Can I tell you, I'm a bit weird like that. I drove to Salisbury and I went to the cul-de-sac, because do you remember the spies had kind of made that their house uninhabitable because they'd touched everything. So it had been completely... So I just went to have a look because I'm interested in that sort of stuff. And in the cul-de-sac, I was looking at the house, which is just completely boarded up and almost like in a protective bubble.
Yeah.
And right next door were the neighbours. They were having a barbecue. And I'm like, what?
That's... Oh my God.
That is, for me, I think... Our country distilled.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very,
it's like, fine, I understand that we got some novichok there. On the other hand, it's 22 degrees.
I've got ribs.
Yeah.
Very, very bad. When you just listed then some of the stuff you would do for Trigger, like how long did a series take to film, Dom?
So it took a year.
A series took a year.
So I'll tell you, this is why Trigger Happy worked. Because Trigger Happy worked because just at that moment when we happened to make Trigger Happy, a year before, I would have had to use professional cameramen, proper stuff. A camera was invented called the Sony VX1000, and it was £1,000, which was just incredible amount of money back then. But you could go and buy it.
Yeah.
And we bought it, and then we rented it. Well, I didn't. Sam is much better than me. He rented it back to production, so he made a profit on it. But it was literally...
Sam sounds so clever.
Sam's so cool.
Yeah, jeez.
Trigger happy to me, if I have to... And I'm it sounds so egotistical talking about it, because I don't analyse my own comedy. But just because we've had the 25th anniversary, I've really thought about it, because I'm writing a little book about it.
Yeah.
And I think we were the fulcrum, it's a good word, between old school hidden camera, like Beatles About and Game for a Laugh, and the advent of YouTube.
Yes,
because
definitely.
there were two rules in Trigger Happy. Again, I hated watching Beatles About because it was so many shots that I think, oh, you cheated that, or that's like a false edit.
Yeah.
And we again, very poncy, we came up with what we called television verite.
Yes.
So we tried the rule. We broke it sometimes if we had to, but the rule in Trigger Happy was everything had to happen in one frame, so that you knew that we'd done
There's
that.
not been any fancy
sometimes.
editing.
And also, we only had one camera.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford another one. But so we tried to make everything work. And that actually was a really good discipline, because it meant the jokes got to work in that one shot.
Yeah.
And it's got to all happen in one bit. Now I'm doing some new stuff with Sam. And, because we're into fast edits and, your generation, you've got no patience for this sort of shit.
Sorry.
It's like bang, bang, bang.
Everything,
so we're now
every reel
doing...
is under a
keep
minute.
So I'll just
scrolling.
go out. I've just done this great character called a Bowie bore. I did the Ziggy Stardust thing, and we put signs up around Russell Square saying, warning, Bowie bores operate in this area. And then I'm just sitting next to people on the bench going, you're probably wanting to know what my top 100 Bowie songs are or stuff. But so we did loads of chats, and then in the edits, we're just fast cutting bits as you would now. But Trigger Happy, we never did that. Everything had to happen in a linear sense.
Was that for your sense of pride in your work, or were you worried about people coming up going, now be honest with me, do you cut it and do it this way?
I didn't care about other people, but I genuinely, for me, I wanted people to know, because I felt people disrespected Hidden Camera, and sometimes rightly so, because it was the kind of... Because remember, Jackass was happening at the same time.
I was going to ask about Jackass.
And Spike Jones came over before Jackass and saw Trigger Happy.
Yeah.
And so the elements of Jackass that were costumey were nicked from us, which is fine.
Yeah.
But Jackass in its core is jocks.
Yes.
It's
quite gross as well.
Yeah, it's frat parties. And we were like weirdly clean. Like Sam and I don't like tit gags and knob gags, and we called it lowest hanging fruit. And all of Trigger Happy is me trying to make Sam laugh. And so even that style of Trigger Happy...
So it would literally just be you trying to see what worked in real time.
It was all riffed. There was not a single word written for Trigger Happy.
There's no whiteboards and...
No, nothing.
And if he laughed, that for you was
That was my
confidence.
absolute... Yeah, I knew when something was great. And then the other problem was I'd do something and he'd almost not be able to hold the camera.
Yeah.
And that was what it was all about.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have to get consent. And so someone would go in to ask these people if they mind signing. And if they said no, it's not like I can do it again, because it's never going to be the same as that. You know, when you just say something to someone...
I wanted to ask about the consent, because you know how we've had some guests on now who talk about their experiences of and they go, there was no welfare checks back then. But with you, there's a little bit of me that thought the consent form wouldn't have been a thing back in Trigger Happy, but it was.
It was so annoying. So when we did all our stuff on Paramount and even I think the pilot for Channel 4, there was sort of no rules in telly for Hidden Camera, because Hidden Camera didn't really exist in the way we did it.
Yeah.
And so that we could kind of push it any way we wanted. And I loved that, because we were never trying to piss people off. I would almost say, I've had so many people contact me who's either their relatives or they were the people that got done in Trigger Happy sketches, and they were always like thrilled with it. I don't think we made people look bad.
Yeah.
And I loved the idea that we just did this stuff and never explained it. I love the idea of someone going home at night and his wife saying, how was your day today? And saying, yeah, it was all right. Actually, a bit weird. This scout came up and asked me to mark his homoerotic dancing badge. You know, I love that. But in the end, we did have to get consents. And we were really bad at it at the beginning, because, like, why would you... I don't know if you've seen a consent form.
Yeah.
But essentially it says...
But there's also so many people in some of those scenes as well.
So again, it depends. If you've got a bad lawyer, if you've got a bad channel lawyer, then he just says, you can't do any of this. You can't do it. We had an amazing lawyer who just said, look, I understand this. Let's get some basic rules. If someone's speaking and they're spoken to, they're identifiable, then you need to sign it. And we used to get round, like, there's a lot of shots where I approach someone and they're sitting on a bench, and we'd say, come on, you can't really identify them. So we got away with quite a lot.
Right, okay,
which was weird. But you're right, all the people walking through, I mean, the main reason people didn't sign consent forms is not because they didn't want to be on telly. It's because they were having affairs. I cannot tell you how many people we did. No. And the guy, you know, after the series had gone out, the second series, a guy would go, "Oh my God, it's Dom Joly. Fucking love Trig Happy. Am I being filmed? Oh no, look, that's not my wife." That happens so much, and those are just the people we talk to. So never the people just walking past or sitting at a restaurant near me. Fuck knows what happens.
The music was an important part of the show.
I was into music. I was a goth. I was in a band.
You were a goth.
Yeah, I toured America. I played CBGBs. Like I was properly.
So who were you listening to?
Oh, The Cure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was Robert Smith for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I looked more like him than him. And so when Trig Happy happened, I so loved music. I think the one skill I have with music is that all the people I know that love music are snobs, and so they'll only play cool bands. Mm-hmm. And I just hear a song, and I love it so much. I don't care if it's Kylie Minogue or it's Nick Cave or even Together when they play. Like, I don't give a fuck.
So was that your decision? The music?
Yeah. Every note.
Sam's not a former goth as well.
No, Sam's not. Sam was a quite high bass player in his band.
Right, yeah.
So no, Sam chose one song. I'll give him credit. He chose "Porno for Pyro's Pets" when we did a recycling bin for dead pets, where people were just turning up putting stuffed dogs through, and that was quite a literal song. But every other song I chose, because basically Channel 4 just left us alone. They gave us £1 million, and we went and filmed for a year, and then we edited it. And then handed it in, and the first thing they said was, "Oh, music. There's never been a comedy show with a soundtrack before," and that hadn't crossed my mind. Wow. So they were freaked out, and they sent us into a focus group, which is exactly what you'd expect, like a glass wall, and there were 10 depressed women from Essex. I'm not quite sure why it was all women.
Just wanted a day out.
Of a certain age, and they were all shown the first show, and you're just sitting there like on tenterhooks, and they laughed. But not massively, you know. And then at the end, someone said, "What did you think?" And they said, "Yeah, it's funny. Music's a bit sad, though. Like, can we put, like, cartoon music?" And so that was suggested to us. And thank God I said, "Fuck off." And the soundtrack...
You dug your heels in on that.
Yeah, of course, because that was what... I mean, even when I had to do the DVD, some tracks weren't cleared for international. And it's not like I'd cut the show for the music. I'd extend a joke for a track. So you can't just rip something out and drop it back on. And then when it went around the world, Germany was the only country that paid for the whole soundtrack because it was so expensive. And I didn't sell it to America for ages. MTV wanted it, but it was with a sound-alike soundtrack.
Have you watched the ones in other countries?
It's fucking awful.
Yeah. Not
Someone made one in Belgium. Someone made it shot for shot, or attempted to.
What, really?
They called it Tragger Happy TV.
No.
Tragger Happy. Promise you. And I saw it, and I rang my agent to say, "Can you sue these fuckers?" And he said, "You agreed. They paid for it." And I go, "What? I didn't realise that." And they kind of shot it. So, you know, where I do the Big Mobile and Art Gallery, they do it in an art gallery, but it was in Flemish. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
But the music is such a massive part. It's an integral part.
It's everything about it. Yeah.
Does it really piss you off then when you see the other versions of it from other countries?
Well, it doesn't piss me off. I mean, I suppose I'd prefer someone sees the show than didn't. But in America, it was really important to me. I did not want people in America to see it without seeing the real thing. And in the end, I just thought, well, you know, I'd moved to the BBC, so I sold it to the Comedy Central or whatever, and they put it out, and it did well, but no one in America had ever seen it as it was supposed to be, and that did piss me off.
How did the big phone in the big gallery? I mean, like, that is the sketch that has
do you still have
followed.
The big phone?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
do you?
Yeah, of course.
How big is it?
It's that size.
Okay, so it's quite so tall, at least several feet.
Yeah, the big phone happened completely. So there's lots of things if you want to hear all the things that are wrong. Firstly, I never shouted "I'm on the phone." Like,
you never did that?
Every day someone shouts to me, "I'm on the phone." Never said it in my life.
So what did you say?
"I'm in the library," or I'm in a restaurant, or I never said I'm on the phone, ever.
Yeah.
I call it the big mobile. It happened completely by chance. Sam and I, when we were at Paramount, or just after Paramount, we went for quite a long lunch in the
I love these long lunches.
It was all about long lunches.
It's a running theme here.
We were quite old school. And we had a long lunch in Edgware Road, and we came out, and I was totally pissed. And we were going back to the office, and we were walking down Edgware Road, and there was a mobile phone display store, or mobile phone store. And again, it's not a Nokia phone. People think it's a Nokia phone. It wasn't. It was the Nokia ringtone, not my choice. But the phone was actually a Sony Mars bar, which was a really cool phone. It was like a little sleek thing. I actually had one, and you just felt so cool with it. And it had just come out, and so there was a 3.5 foot display of it like heavy fucking thing outside a shop. And I was pissed, so I just picked it up. And I was going to Sam, look, hello, like that. And then we just ran off. I nicked it, basically, and jumped on a bus. So crime does pay. That's I want you to know. And I jumped on the bus, and we forgot about it. And then we got to Oxford Street, which was near where our office was, got off the bus, and there is Jeremy Clarkson, a young Jeremy Clarkson, being interviewed by a crew on Oxford Street. And I'm pissed. I've got this thing. So somewhere on tape, the actual joke happening... Like,
in real time.
In real time is there, because I walk up behind him and I go, hello! No, I'm on Oxford Street. No, I'm behind Clarkson. No, I don't know, he's a twat, I think I said. And again, I was quite early on that. And then that was it. And then we took it back to the office, and then we just put it up in the corner of the office like a war trophy.
Yeah.
And we didn't touch it. And then when Trigger Happy came, we were thinking of ideas. And I said, remember the mobile? We should use it to interrupt things I hate, like opera and theatre and stuff like that. And that's how it happened. But it was so different from the rest of Trigger Happy because it was shouty and a bit not very subtle that I'd always put it before the titles. And then the rest of Trigger Happy was me having a nervous breakdown to Jacques Brel dressed as a squirrel. But what it did was I'd say all the people that hadn't seen Trigger Happy, everyone knew about that mobile phone. And every time that ringtone went off, it was like a subliminal ad for Trigger. So it was great.
Is that still the number one thing people say to you if they spot you in public?
Yes, I'm quite pleased. There's the second one. I did a little mini Trigger Happy for Channel 4 Online in about 2016, and I did a thing called Cycle Lane, where it's like that cycling Mikey twat and stuff.
Yeah.
So all these people going around. And so I basically just got a bike, put cameras on, and I took it through libraries in Brighton and through restaurants and just everywhere as a cycle lane. I get Cycle Lane shouted at me a lot. But massively, it's hello,
A charity ride, I'm a bit more important. Cycle lane! Cycle lane! Cycle lane!
You're not allowed to do that.
It's charity. I'm doing a big charity ride all over Britain. I need some free champagne, please.
What happens is I'll walk into a supermarket. There'll be a bloke and a girl of a certain age who grew up on it.
Yeah.
The bloke will go, and the girl will be like, and then he'll go, hello. And then and then I can see him trying to find the ringtone every time. It was quite male heavy.
Was it predominantly male?
Well, I haven't done demographics, but I would say it was. I think.
But based off of who comes up to you.
10 people in Essex.
I think.
10 women in Essex.
I think Hidden Camera tends to be a more male, more blokey thing.
Yeah.
So I would say it is. Yeah. So unfortunately, it was just it didn't help me.
How was did you enjoy people coming up to you and quoting or rather misquoting your work? And what's your relationship like to the fame that Trigger Happy has brought you?
That's such a complicated question.
Sorry.
No, I love it. It's really interesting. And again, because I've been writing this thing about it, I've been thinking about that a lot.
Yeah.
And overall, can't fucking grumble, yeah?
Yeah.
But am I happy that if you ask one person about me, what is it? They go, hello, big mobile. I get people now going, one joke, that's all you ever did. And you've been living off it. And I go, well, that's fair enough. But I mean, Trigger Happy had 44 jokes in each show, all of which I could still put in front of a crowd now. And I tell you, will kill.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, someone remembers me for something. That's great. Am I remembered for a catchphrase, hello? It's not a great catchphrase, is it? But that's fine.
Dom Joly, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you, Dom. That was really great.
Like and subscribe to us on YouTube or at Instagram @RememberMe or on our TikTok page @RememberMeMDS. And you can also follow and watch us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Danny, what does MDS mean?
Mic Drop Studios, like and subscribe.
Sorry, yes, Mic Drop Studios, like and subscribe, says producer Danny. You can email us at rememberme@micdropstudios.com. And you can also visit us at micdropstudios.com/rememberme. Don't forget to leave your comments below about today's episode. We do read every single one. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye.